The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know you've been in the gym and your eyesight may have been affected by the amount of weights you're lifting, sir, because you're known, I'm told, as a fit person. Others dispute that, but I'm sure it's not the case. Look, could I just briefly reiterate what I said in the first reading, but touch on one point? We will support this. This was an issue, as I say, that arose out of a coalition partner who was zealot-like in his approach to wanting police not to participate in elections. I do note in passing that there are a certain number of public servants who are not permitted, not by legislation, but I'm told by their own internal law, if you will. The military are not, to a certain level, I'm told, are not permitted, for instance, to stand for elections to this Parliament by their own arrangements within military law. But I want to address one issue that I think was raised by Maturi Ture in the first reading, and that is the issue of conflict of interest. Now, I had a chance to have a chat to a colleague opposite who's been a member of the constabulary to check my sort of history on this, and neither of us could remember where a conflict of interest had arisen, because this is an issue I think Maturi Ture raised, that a conflict of interest could arise where a police person in both the dual role as an elected councillor or community board member or a local authority member and as a member of the constabulary could not manage that issue, that there was some sort of great constitutional issue of moment. Well, I have to say, from having had a councillor and police officer Robbie Bryan as a councillor, I can't recall of that taking place. My colleague across the aisle, having been a serving police officer, can't recall either. I think, like as with all elected roles, even members of Parliament from time to time, whether it be cabinet ministers or members of select committees, conflicts of interest do arise. Well, there's a simple way to deal with them. That is, there are rules in this place, there are rules under the Local Government Act, there are also sanctions that can be imposed by the Auditor-General, and we saw the Auditor-General give ECAN in my own area of Canterbury some scrutiny over a number of perceived or otherwise alleged conflict of interest by non-serving police folk, ordinary folk that is, who still trod that fine line in respect of a conflict of interest. That was dealt with by the Auditor-General. So the safeguards on that side, and equally I would say, and again taking some counsel from my colleague across the aisle, a former serving police officer, I would wager that there would be a great deal of interest taken by the hierarchy from the Commissioner down if a serving police officer was to cross the line or in any way compromise the department or his or her own standing in the way they approach the decision-making process in a local authority. I would argue that serving police officers who are elected, and in general, 99.9% of folks who are in elected office know when they've got to withdraw from a process, when they've got to leave the room or declare an interest, and these things can be managed. I disagree with our Green colleagues that somehow, the world will end as we know it, that, the veil will fall, the Constitution will be torn asunder, as it were, and there'll be a great series of injustices put forward because serving police officers are enabled to stand in local body elections. I think it is right to raise the issue, and I accept that, and I'm sure there will be one or two letter to the editor writers and one or two in the community who will have a go from time to time at serving police officers who have the dual role. But as I say, I believe there are enough safeguards on both sides, both on the blue uniform side and within the elected local body and legislation, the Auditor-General, to ensure that people can have the confidence that those issues will be dealt with. In the same way, I suppose, if you like, as business people who stand on local authorities and may have an interest in property, which then leads to zoning arrangements or zoning decisions that local authorities will make, they or irrigation issues or whatever, they too have an obligation to ensure that those conflicts of interest are declared and appropriate measures are taken place so there is transparency. So I like the Minister, commend the bill to the House. I won't go as far as her colleague Melissa Lee, who expressed her love and adoration for the Minister, but I am advised there is a lot to love. I commend the bill to the House.